Every saw blade in your shop is stamped with the answer to the question you're standing there asking. Diameter, arbor size, tooth count, kerf width, maximum revolutions per minute, and the materials it's rated to touch, all printed on the plate, all ignored by almost everyone. Learn to read those numbers, and you stop guessing forever. So before we go through the blades themselves, here are the 3 variables that define every single one of them. Variable 1. Tooth count. On a circular blade, it is the total number of teeth. On a jigsaw, reciprocating saw, bandsaw, or hacksaw blade, it is TPI, teeth per inch. It controls exactly one trade-off: speed versus finish. Fewer, bigger teeth take a bigger bite, clear waste faster, and leave a rougher edge. More, smaller teeth cut slower, generate more heat, and leave a cleaner edge. There is no blade that does both. Anyone selling you one is selling you a compromise. Variable 2. Tooth material. Plain carbon steel is cheap and dulls almost immediately. High-speed steel holds an edge under heat. Bimetal is a high-speed steel cutting edge welded to a flexible spring steel body, which is why bimetal blades bend instead of snapping. Carbide tipped means a brazed tungsten carbide tip on a steel plate, and it lasts roughly 50 times longer than plain steel. Diamond and carbide grit are not teeth at all. They are abrasive particles bonded to a rim, and they grind their way through material that would strip teeth off any blade. Variable 3. Tooth geometry. This is the one nobody explains, and it's the one that decides whether your cut is clean or ruined. Flat top grind, a square, flat tooth, chisels straight down the grain. That's a ripping tooth. Alternate top bevel, teeth beveled left, right, slices wood fibers instead of chiseling them, so it cross-cuts cleanly. Triple chip grind, one tooth with its corners chamfered, followed by a flat tooth, takes the cut in 2 stages, and it's what you need for laminate, plastic, solid surface, and non-ferrous metal. And hook angle, the forward lean of the tooth. A positive hook aggressively pulls itself into the work, and a negative hook resists it. Remember that word, negative. It comes back later, and it's a safety issue. 3 variables, and then one more number on the plate that costs people money without them ever noticing it: kerf. Kerf is the width of the slot the blade removes, and it's set by how far the teeth stick out past the plate. A full kerf blade cuts 1/8 of an inch wide. A thin kerf blade cuts about 3/32. That difference sounds trivial until you understand what it means. A thin kerf removes 25% less material, which means 25% less work, which means an underpowered saw stops bogging down and burning. It also wastes less of an expensive board across a long rip. The trade-off is stiffness. A thinner plate deflects under side load, and a deflecting blade wanders off your line and leaves a cut face that isn't square. So, thin kerf on a portable circular saw or a low horsepower table saw, full kerf on a heavy cabinet saw that has the power to shove it through. And whichever you pick, your riving knife has to be thinner than the kerf and thicker than the plate, or it jams in the cut it was installed to keep open. Circular saw and table saw blades start with the 24-tooth framing blade. Big teeth, deep gullets between them, flat top grind, aggressive positive hook. It's built to ripe along the grain of framing lumber, and it does that fast because those deep gullets carry sawdust out of the cut instead of packing it in. The edge it leaves is torn and fuzzy. That's not a flaw. Nobody sees the inside of a stud wall. 40-tooth general purpose, the blade that lives on most saws. A combination grind that rips acceptably and crosscuts acceptably and excels at nothing. If you own one blade, own this one. If you own 3, this shouldn't be one of them. 60 to 80 tooth finish blade, alternate top bevel, shallow gullets, and a low or negative hook. This is your crosscut blade for trim, hardwood, and anything with a visible edge. Push it through a rip cut in thick stock, and the shallow gullets pack solid with dust. The blade heats, the plate warps, and you get burn marks down the face of the board. 80 tooth plus, high alternate top bevel. A steep bevel angle, often 40 degrees, that points the tooth tips down into a knife edge. It's for plywood veneer, melamine, and pre-finished panel, where the failure mode isn't a rough cut. It's tear out, the bottom face splintering as the teeth exit. That knife geometry severs the surface fibers before they can lift. Non-ferrous metal blade, triple chip grind, very high tooth count, and a negative hook angle. This is the blade for aluminum, brass, and copper. Here is the rule that matters. Never cut aluminum with a positive hook wood blade. Aluminum is soft and grabby. The positive hook self-feeds. The blade climbs the material, and it launches the workpiece back at you. Negative hook, triple chip, and a wax stick or cutting fluid on the plate to stop molten aluminum from welding itself into the gullets. Ferrous metal blade, carbide or cermet tipped, engineered to cut mild steel dry, and it produces warm chips rather than a shower of sparks. It only works in a saw designed to run it, a dry-cut metal saw turning somewhere around 1300 to 1800 RPM. Mount one in a 5500 RPM circular saw and you will shatter carbide. Match the blade's rated RPM to the tool, every time, no exceptions. Abrasive cut-off wheel, no teeth at all. A bonded abrasive disc that consumes itself as it cuts, throws a fountain of sparks, and leaves a hot, burred, discolored edge. It is cheap, and it will cut hardened steel that would destroy carbide. It also gets smaller as it works, so your depth of cut shrinks with every cut, and it hardens the edge you just made, which is a problem the moment you need to drill or tap that piece. Diamond blade on a circular saw. Same technology as the grinder discs. Industrial diamond bonded into a metal rim. Segmented rim for concrete, brick and block. Continuous rim, used wet, for tile and stone where a chipped edge is a ruined piece. Turbo rim sits between them. A serrated continuous rim that cuts faster than continuous and cleaner than segmented. Now the blade families that use teeth per inch instead of tooth count, and all of them obey one law. The 3-tooth rule. At least 3 teeth must be engaged in the material at all times. If fewer than 3 are in contact, the teeth straddle the workpiece, catch on the edge, and either strip off the blade or throw the work. This single rule tells you the TPI for a hacksaw, a bandsaw, a jigsaw, and a reciprocating saw. Thin material means high TPI. Thick material means low TPI. Learn it once, apply it everywhere. Jigsaw blades. First, the shank. T-shank has a tang at the top and drops into a tool-free clamp, and that is the modern standard. U-shank has a notch and needs a set screw, and it is what you will find on older saws. They are not interchangeable, and it is the first thing to check before you buy. The codes on jigsaw blades are readable too. T101B, T144D, T188A. The T is the shank. The suffix is the personality. A is fine, B is clean, D is fast and coarse. An R suffix means reverse tooth. The teeth point downward and cut on the downstroke instead of the upstroke. That matters more than it sounds, because a normal jigsaw blade cuts upward and tears the top face of the material, which is the face you are looking at. Reverse tooth blades move the tear out to the underside. Use them on laminate and pre-finished panel. Beyond that, BI metal blades for metal, with high TPI to satisfy the 3-tooth rule on sheet. Narrow scrolling blades for tight radius curves, and carbide grit blades, toothless, for tile, fiberglass, and cement board. Reciprocating saw blades. This is a demolition tool, and the blades reflect it. 6 teeth per inch, and coarse for fast wood cutting. 10 to 14 teeth per inch bimetal for metal, conduit, and pipe. 8 to 10 teeth per inch bimetal for nail-embedded wood, which is the one you actually want for tear-out work, because a wood blade that meets a hidden nail loses teeth instantly. Carbide-tipped blades for cast iron and fiber cement. Carbide grit for tile and masonry. And coarse pruning blades, 3 to 5 teeth per inch, with enormous gullets, because green wood produces wet, stringy fibers that will clog anything finer. One control on that saw is worth more than the blade choice, the shoe. Press the shoe firmly against the work. If it is floating, the blade bounces, the tip whips, and you'll snap blades all afternoon and blame the blades. Band saw blades. Two things define them: width and tooth style. Width sets the tightest curve you can cut because a wide blade physically cannot turn a tight radius. A 1/4-inch blade will hold roughly a 5/8-inch radius. A 1/2-inch blade needs about 2.5 inches. Cut tighter than that, and you'll bind the blade and roll it off the wheels. Tooth style: regular tooth for general work and metal. Skip tooth, with every other tooth removed, for a bigger gullet and faster chip clearance in wood. Hook tooth, with a positive rake, for resawing, pulling straight down through the height of a wide board. And for metal, a variable pitch bimetal blade, where the tooth spacing changes along the blade to break up the harmonic vibration that causes chatter. Hole saws: a cylinder of teeth around a pilot bit. BI metal is your general purpose choice for wood, drywall, and thin metal. Carbide tipped for stainless, fiber cement, and abrasive board. Diamond, used wet and usually pilotless, for tile, glass, and porcelain. And the practical problem with every hole saw is the same: the plug jams inside the cup. Buy one with side ejection slots, back the saw out periodically to clear dust, and pull the plug through the slot with a screwdriver rather than fighting it out of the front. Hacksaw blades: 14, 18, 24, and 32 teeth per inch. 14 for thick solid stock, 32 for thin wall tubing and sheet. The 3-tooth rule, again, and it is most brutally enforced here because a coarse blade on thin tube will hook the wall and rip teeth clean off. Mount the blade with the teeth pointing forward, away from the handle. Hacksaws cut on the push stroke, lift slightly on the return. Oscillating multi-tool blades. These don't spin, they vibrate through a tiny arc, which is what lets them plunge into the middle of a surface and cut flush against another one. Bimetal for wood with nails, carbide for hard and abrasive material, diamond for grout and tile. They're slow, and they're the only thing on this list that can start a cut in the middle of a wall. Now, how do you know a blade is finished? Nobody tells you this, and almost everyone runs blades long past dead. A sharp blade is pulled through the material by its own geometry. You're guiding it, not pushing it. The moment you find yourself leaning into the cut, that blade is done. Look for the other 3 symptoms: burn marks scorch down the cut face, sawdust that comes out as fine powder instead of chips, and a change in the sound, a strained note instead of a steady one. Then look at the teeth themselves under a light. A sharp carbide tip catches the light as a line. A dull one catches it as a rounded, shiny dot. And carbide is worth resharpening. A good carbide-tipped blade can be reground 3 or 4 times before the tips get too short to braze against, and a professional regrind costs a fraction of a new blade. Plain steel and bimetal blades are consumables. Sharpening them costs more than replacing them, which means the $20 blade you throw away every month is more expensive than the $80 blade you sharpen once a year. Which brings us to the last thing on the blade, and it is the one that hurts people: kickback. The stamped maximum revolutions per minute is not a suggestion. It is the speed above which the blade tears itself apart, and a fragment leaving a spinning blade is leaving at that speed. Beyond that, kickback comes from 3 things, and only 3 things. A dull blade, which needs force, and force is what turns a bind into a launch. A pinched cut, where the wood closes on the plate behind the teeth, which is what the riving knife on your table saw exists to prevent, and why removing it is the single worst decision you can make in a workshop. And the wrong blade for the material, which is everything we have just covered. So here's the whole video in 4 sentences. Cutting with the grain, take fewer teeth. Cutting across it, or cutting anything you'll see afterward, take more teeth. Cutting metal, take a negative hook and enough teeth per inch to keep 3 teeth in the cut. And cutting anything harder than steel, stop looking for teeth and go find diamond. Read the plate, it already told you. If there's a blade sitting in your shop you've never been able to identify, put the numbers off the plate in the comments and we'll decode it. Subscribe for the rest of the workshop, explained properly.